earned myself about $193,000 in debt between vehicles and toys and fun things.
I am 65 years old. I have made absolutely horrible decisions with money all my life.
I need some advice on how I can break it to my wife that we are broke and that we are $500,000 in debt.
Okay, so today we're going to be taking a look at some insane Dave Ramsey clips. There are a lot of call-ins with people making pretty substantial amounts of money, and they still end up squandering it for so many reasons we're going to see today. That's why I think financial literacy is extremely important, whether you're making $10,000 a year or $10 million. We have a lot to go over today, along with comments from you guys from previous videos, so if you want to be featured on a future video, leave in the comments down below. But let's start off with a call-in from my home state, New Jersey.
So I have recently moved to Atlantic City, maybe about 7 months ago. Since then, I have picked up a pretty nasty habit of going to casinos. In the past couple of months, I would say less than 2 months, maybe 6 weeks or so, I've lost about $45,000 to $55,000 of my money, basically everything that I have. Started with little bets, $25 here and there, and then all of a sudden, before I know it, bets went up to $100 a night, and then $500 a night, and then next thing you know, I'm going in $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a night. And over the course of maybe a week and a half, I really lost a big chunk, and I tried to chase it. And then over the past maybe 3 weeks or so, I've lost everything.
James, I'm sorry. How old are you, honey?
Just turned 25.
Pretty scary to be this out of control, isn't it?
Yep. It's like I black out whenever I go. It just feels like I'm not even myself. And then the second I leave the casinos, it feels like I'm kind of back, and I realize what I did.
Are you working?
Yeah, I am.
What do you earn, sir?
About $120 a year.
Earning $120,000 a year at 25 years old. And he basically has nothing to show for it because he gambles it all away immediately. Now, I know some might say $120,000 a year isn't a massive amount of money living in New Jersey. It is a very expensive state. That's why I don't live there anymore. But to be honest, if he does live in Atlantic City, there's some pretty rough areas. So there is a possibility that he could be doing very well for himself right now, being able to save a good amount of money for the future. But because he was lured into the casinos, he lost $45,000 in just a matter of a few weeks. That's insane. Sports betting apps are just as bad. People need to wake up to them, and I agree. Maybe the situation isn't as common for the age range. He was 25, but so many people like to go on DraftKings and bet on every single sporting event they could think of. They developed the same sort of addiction that he did, and that's a good way for all of your money to disappear. We have a comment from one of you guys, short and sweet. People normalize debt so much now, to the point now where it's not even thought of as debt. It's just a way of life.
The most aggressively marketed product in the United States today is debt. Debt is sold as a product more aggressively, more sophistication, more money, more bandwidth is spent selling you folks debt because it's so profitable than any other product. I mean, you think you've seen a Chevy Silverado run through a mud puddle on every football program for the last 20 years, and you think Chevy spends money on that? It's nothing compared to what Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and your local bank, they spend money convincing you, and they've convinced an entire culture generationally that the only way to prosper, the only way to get what I need is to go to the bank.
And I know this sounds kind of hypocritical coming from me because I've talked about me exclusively using credit cards. You get the cash back or the points, the rewards, something, right? And to be honest, you're still going to spend a substantial amount of money just to survive, the bills and necessities, so you can get something out of it if you use a credit card. However, many people take that way too far. They don't understand what happens when you only pay the minimum payments. Then they don't get how interest works, and they're in a very bad situation. So if you have the discipline and the knowledge to be able to utilize the credit, it could definitely work in your favor, but if you don't, it can hurt you way more. But another comment here, debt makes people rich and is the backbone of the economy. Well, that's a pretty good transition into the next clip.
I'm feeling a little discouraged. A year ago, my husband and I were on baby step 4. We had 2 full-time jobs, 3 additional income streams. But in the last 12 months, my husband lost his job. We're down 2 income streams. We had to deplete our emergency savings, use some retirement funds, and go into debt.
Why?
You
didn't have to, but you did. Why?
We were trying to get out of debt by selling one of our properties. It took us longer to sell the property, and we had to put more into it to sell it than we were expecting to.
Okay. How can I best help, darling?
Well, so we are net worth millionaires, but we're struggling to get by month to month, and we recently sold one of our rental properties, like I said, to get us out of debt, and we're just at a crossroads and unsure of what the next best move is.
So is your household expenses too high?
Yes.
What's it take for you to live a year?
Well, including the mortgages that we have, it's around $15,000 a month.
So you're net worth millionaires, but you've leveraged yourself into real estate and gone broke. Yes. You need to be selling every piece of real estate you have except your personal residence. You're not cash flowing on this. Your $1 million net worth is not paying you enough to justify the expenses that you have.
Real quick, before I say anything, we go over to the comments. She loves the thought of being a millionaire, but she's living in La La Land. She doesn't want to let it go. How are they millionaires? They're in debt. $15,000 a month to live. But to me, with owning several different rental properties, it sounds like they were kind of stretched thin, even with both of them having jobs. They have several different mortgages they have to pay every month, and if anything slips up, like the husband losing their job, everything comes crumbling down. They wanted to be on the fast track to owning a ton of properties, building the rental empire, and a possibility of living above your means. I mean, $15,000 a month just to survive? Sounds a little crazy to me, but now that apparent millionaire status has turned into losing all of their savings, their emergency fund, and just getting deeper into debt. We have another comment from you guys here. How have these people not keeled over in stress with that kind of debt? I don't understand, especially some of the amounts we're going to see a little bit later. I legitimately would not be able to sleep.
Why on God's green earth does a 25-year-old young man who's got a bright future ahead of him need a $53,000 truck?
Here's what happened. I'm actually enlisting into the Air Force in about 3 weeks. So kind of what I'm looking for is just advice on what should I do while I'm in the service, just try to get better financially, and then just kind of, grow it while I'm in, if I do choose to get out after my 4 years. I do have a truck that I just purchased, so that is a kind of a debt that I took on.
I wouldn't say kind of a debt. I would just say it's a debt.
But yeah, that's kind of just what I'm just kind of calling in and asking for advice on what I could do while I'm in.
How old are you?
We'll be 25 in February.
And what will you be making?
Starting out, I'll make about $2,700 a month, and then I just progress with the rank as I go through.
Okay. Are you living for free?
Yeah, I mean, I'll live when I'm there. I'll live for free because I live in the dormitories and stuff.
So you can make $2,700 work, and you've got a truck payment now to deal with. Do you need this truck?
Well, yeah, it's kind of...
It was a trick question, Hayden. The answer is you do not need this truck.
Okay, so I wanted to put this in because this is actually fairly common with the military. Maybe it is the justification that you get to live for free, don't have to pay rent or a mortgage. So a lot of guys end up getting a nice car, or in this case, a truck, a $50,000+ vehicle, while he's only making $2,700 a month. This happens all the time, though. They end up getting a Camaro, a Mustang, a WRX. A good amount of the time, they also go to a less than reputable dealership that gives them a very bad interest rate, and the whole deal is just a dumpster fire. So that's one that I would try to avoid at all costs, but I can almost guarantee you they get influenced by their friends, everybody that they're living with. If somebody has a nice car, then that makes you want to have a nice car, and it just spreads and spreads.
The number one cause of divorce in North America today is money fights and money problems. And if you're not aligned on money going into a marriage, you have a problem because you're not aligned on the number one cause of people splitting up. The other three are you're not aligned on religion, how to raise kids and whether to have them, and how to deal with the freaking in-laws. And if you're not aligned on those four things, you're going to struggle severely in the first decade of your marriage, and it likely will end in divorce.
Now, what I have seen watching a lot of the clips from Dave Ramsey's show is that a good amount of this does start turning into almost therapy sessions, a lot of relationship type questions, mainly because of exactly what he said. It is so important to be on the same page financially, whether you end up getting married or not, just being in a relationship. If one's a saver and the other one's a spender, there's a pretty good chance that it's going to end in flames down the road. I know that the dating market and relationships in general is such a mess right now, and many people don't like to sit down and have financial conversations with their significant other, but it's basically imperative to keep the relationship afloat.
Our daughter is 19 years old and failed her first year of college. She applies for jobs but has a bad attitude that I'm sure shows up in interviews. My wife and I are both successful in our fields, are in baby step 6, and have $1 million in retirement funds, so it's not like she hasn't had a good example at home. What little savings she has is dwindling away from eating out and subscribing to useless phone apps. We've recently told her that she will have to start paying $150 rent starting next month. She says we are being unfair because she doesn't have a job, but we explained if we lose our jobs, the bills still have to be paid and no one gets a pass. Are we being too harsh charging a nominal rent, which will go into a college fund for her if and when she decides to go back. I am sure this isn't a unique problem, as this seems like a generational thing, but we want to help her launch into adulthood. Well, a couple things here. My personal parenting style on this is I'm not going to fund her for anything. Zero, until she figures out how hard life is with a really, really bad attitude. I think that's the first thing. I don't mind you charging her rent and putting more pressure on her to act like a young adult. So I don't think you're being too harsh. I feel like you've probably been a little bit too lax on this situation.
I wanted to put this in because we've talked about this a couple times on this channel. It is becoming increasingly more common for people in their 20s or even 30s staying with their parents, primarily because of the high cost of living and the tough job market. And I was a part of that group as well. I've been on my own for a little bit over 2 years, but being able to work and save as much money as possible really did help me out for my future. But for this example, they're kind of being a freeloader. Her being angry about $150 rent compared to actually getting an apartment or something along the lines of that, it's just going to be a rude awakening when you get into the real world and see how difficult it really is. But we have a comment right here from one of you guys. Co-signing for someone else's debt has to be the dumbest thing you could do. So you could probably guess what the next clip is talking about.
So I have a brother-in-law who is just a big dumb animal, and I love him dearly. And he came to me and says, "Hey, I got 20 grand I'm going to put down on a car, but I need help." And I said, "You got 20 grand? Okay, fine. I'll do it for you." So I co-signed for him.
You got in the mud with this animal, my friend. We can't tell the two apart. We don't know who's dumb and who's smart.
I know. And all I can hear in the background when I got done doing this is Dave saying and reciting scripture to me, saying, "One who signs debt for another is stupid."
Yeah, that's right.
The King James Bible. So now I'm in the process of either just letting this go into a voluntary repossession. He's going away for a very long time on a vacation, an unwanted vacation.
Is he going to prison?
Yes, he is.
Oh, boy.
So,
okay.
Anyways, yeah. So now it's an $1,100 car payment, and
goodness gracious, can you not sell it?
Well, I can sell it. So either way, I can sell it. But right now, the buyout is 62 on it, and to sell it, it's going to be around maybe 50.
So best case scenario, this guy loses $12,000 because he co-signed for a family member. There are so many different examples of this online. It's insane. I know it's hard to say no, especially if it is a family member, but the amount of times that I see people get screwed over, especially because the brother-in-law is going to prison, I don't think he's going to be able to pay for the car payment. It is basically guaranteed to get repossessed unless they sell it, and he would take quite a hit, whether it's his credit score or the 5 figures that he would be losing selling it. Just an overall terrible situation. But we have another comment from you guys here. Please continue to do this series. It keeps me sane and on track with my savings. I know that's why a lot of people like watching this series, along with the financial audit clips. Just the absolute off-the-wall scenarios are kind of like a scared straight to many people, including myself, and it definitely keeps us on track.
I am 65 years old. I have made absolutely horrible decisions with money all my life. I have no nest egg. My wife has maybe 10,000 in a 401k, and I've got maybe a couple thousand. And we have started the steps. Just last payday, we got our $1,000 emergency fund paid, and we also got $200 paid down on our smallest unsecured debt. So now it's only $150 left. I've got 2 other credit cards and a car loan and a mortgage. Total debt, including mortgage, is $137,000. Since we don't have anything lined up for retirement, I'm trying to figure out what would be the best way for me to go. Make sure I get out of all debt.
Are you both working still?
Yes, sir.
What do you make?
The 2 of us together will make about $105,000.
All my life, I've watched my neighbors spend as if they were rich, only to end up bankrupt or wake up one day at 65 with $0. Spend below your means. And the comment right after that, 72 and still working. This is going to become even more common in the future. It's becoming more and more difficult to be able to retire in today's world. And that's why I think keeping on track with your finances and being able to save and budget as early early as you possibly can is very important. I don't want to be working when I'm up there in that age, and to be honest, it might be pretty difficult for me to work at that age. I already have bad knees and a bad back. I can't imagine what it's going to be like in 40 or 50 years. Another comment here, geez dude, sometimes I'm like, maybe don't get a latte today. Meanwhile, these people are like, yeah, I owe the IRS $500,000. Well, speaking of absolutely insane amounts of debt, we'll go on to the next clip.
I need some advice on how I can break it to my wife that we are broke and that we are $500,000 in debt.
Why does she not know this?
I take care of all of our finances. She has a credit card that she swipes and doesn't have to worry about anything.
Yes, she should.
It's just something that I've taken advantage of. And, you know.
How long y'all been married?
We got married in 2022.
She's been married 3 years.
Yes.
You ran up $500,000 in debt in 3 years?
Yes.
How much do you owe on your home?
$330,000.
Okay, she knows that.
Yes.
Okay, and what is the other $170,000 in debt?
We have 2 vehicle loans. My vehicle is $50,000 and hers is $35,000.
Okay, and she's aware of those.
She is.
Okay. The way you describe this is like there's $500,000 in debt my wife doesn't know about. Yes, she does.
It's about $80,000 of credit card debt that she may not understand is floating out there.
But she's been running her credit card around like she's in Congress, so she probably has a clue about that too.
Okay, so I think that this is definitely both parties' fault. It's pretty difficult to spend $80,000 on a credit card and not knowing that you're spending a ton of money. But on the other hand, the husband lets it happen. He takes care of all the finances and just lets her swipe, doesn't say anything about it. What do you think's going to happen then? If she has no knowledge of the total income household and she ends up buying a whole bunch of expensive things and doesn't get any backlash, she probably thinks that they're rich, when that is clearly not the case, but he doesn't even want to communicate it with her. This goes back to me talking about it earlier. You need to be on the same financial page. This is just going to end in an eventual divorce. I'm in $3,000 in debt and I'm spiraling. I couldn't fathom $500,000. I take care of our finances. No, you don't, my guy. He really doesn't. He just sees the number going up and doesn't do anything about it.
My husband spends on average about $1,000 a month at gas stations for snacks, drinks. A majority of that, though, is for chewing tobacco.
Oh.
And my question is, how can I help him work towards becoming more financially responsible so that we're not worrying, how we're going to make it till the end of the month with bills and other priorities.
How long has this been going on for?
It's been going on for a few years. It has gotten worse, though, within the last year or so.
Is he using more chewing tobacco? What do you think the problem is there?
Definitely more chewing tobacco. He goes through maybe 2 to 3 cans a day. And that can be pretty pricey. It hurts us financially.
I feel like this isn't talked about nearly as much, especially when we're talking about blue-collar work. We could take a look at some of the comments first. When she said he was an HVAC technician, I knew it was over. Source, I'm an HVAC technician. The beef jerky prices are killing me. As a former cigarette smoker, cold turkey is the only way that worked for me. It sucks, but it works. Now, along, of course, with the health problems of cigarettes or tobacco, it's obviously addictive and expensive, and it's just more common in blue-collar work. You could even add in just going to 7-Eleven and getting a snack every day or a lunch, but that kind of stuff really does add up if you do it 5 times a week. Years and years down the road, you could be spending thousands or tens of thousands of dollars a year. I mean, she said $1,000 a month. They're losing $12,000 a year. That's a ton.
What I'm struggling with is whether to give a friend $900 who hasn't responded to any of my calls or texts for like 3 years, and then she suddenly reached out and she's literally begging me for help to pay off a storage unit lien that she says needs to be paid by 4 days from now. And she said it holds all her worldly possessions. So I contacted the storage company directly today. And in doing so, I learned she actually owes double that amount. I could get the money, but it would be a financial hardship for me. But what I'm torn with is I'm feeling so guilty.
No.
Why? What if this was me and like the way she worded it and stuff, but at the same time, it would be a boundary,
Okay,
and so
Jenna, I love this. I love that you called us because you need somebody that's objective. When she first requested the $900, what did your gut, what did your body, what did your brain say?
It was hard because I'm trying to follow some advice from you and pay off my mortgage.
Yes, and you just told us that $900 is a hardship that would be brought on yourself to help somebody pay off a debt, and this somebody's not even in your life.
That isn't a friend, they're just trying to guilt trip her. That's a hard no. Basically everybody's saying the same thing in the comment section, but this seems like a straightforward manipulation tactic. Trying to make her feel bad that all of her possessions are in this storage unit apparently, and I need almost $1,000 even though I owe twice that amount just to get my stuff out of the storage unit. So there's a possibility that she might just take the $900 and disappear. She gets free money from somebody she doesn't even pay attention to anymore and just runs off into the sunset. But yeah, I know this woman feels very guilty and upset that her apparently ex-friend is having a difficult time, but you really just have to let that one go.
My wife and I, we have a lot of kids, which is our decision. I always wanted like 4 kids and she always wanted 12, so we're going to compromise and have 12. So that's our family situation.
You really have 12 kids?
Well, we have 11 right now.
Oh, okay.
You seem thrilled, by the way.
Well, I have that type of voice.
Okay. All right. That's good to know.
5 years ago, we were pretty much debt-free. But just in the past 4 to 5 years, as our kids have kind of reached that age, my wife has stuck them in sports and extracurricular activities. And now we've amassed almost $50,000 of debt in maxed out a credit card and, pushed some expenses that we haven't paid, medical or whatnot. And this is something that
what do you make?
I'm pushing right around 200. The nearest I can figure, we're spending about 25 grand a year on the, a little over $2,000 a month on these sports. And I think that's kind of the silver bullet, and yet my wife is just absolutely not willing to really give these up.
Okay, so I know this is a pretty extreme example. They're going for literally a dozen kids, and that's a very good way to have a $200,000 salary disappear. But I also wanted to put this in because youth sports in general could get extremely expensive, even if you only have one kid. Baseball, soccer, football, basketball, anything. You have the regular season, then you have the off-season league. You could add on any academies, maybe one-on-one training sessions. I mean, the options are basically unlimited. You could have tournaments all over the country, even all over the world. That stuff is obviously not free. And I'm not trying to make it like your kids shouldn't play any sports, but there does have to be a point like this, racking up $50,000 worth of debt. You might have to start budgeting things down because this family will be drowning in debt. 11, they could play sports with each other for free. I pay $6,000 a year on activities for 2 kids. 11 would bankrupt us. There you go.
So I've been a full-time gig worker. I've been driving for Uber and Lyft, and I financed 2 vehicles. The first one I financed was a Honda CR-V, and when I bought it at the peak when prices were so inflated. Dealerships were marking up prices, and there was low inventory, and the car prices were much higher.
So
right?
what'd you pay?
So I bought it in I financed it for $60K. This was in 2020, like the beginning of 2022.
You financed a Honda for $60K to drive
CR-V.
Uber.
And
Correct.
it's a CR-V.
Correct. Because the thing is, I got advice from other drivers that, hey, you can really make good money.
You got
driving
financial
for Uber.
advice from other Uber drivers.
Okay, well, we'll go over to the comments first. There is no CR-V for $59,000. When a 2026 CR-V hybrid is $38,000, a 2026 MDX is $51,800. The guy got taken out behind the woodshed. He was talking about the dealer markups at the peak of the market, and in total after financing, he would be paying about $60,000. But still, that does not make it any less insane for a Honda CR-V. All of that just to do Uber and Lyft. Really can't say that that's worth it in the end. At least it is a Honda. We have seen clips in the past that people were buying Porsche Macans for Uber Eats, then being shocked that they can't handle the payments with their job. He's kind of getting a little close in that territory, spending $60,000 on a Honda, but just another example of somebody getting absolutely rinsed with car payments during the pandemic.
I earned myself about $193,000 in debt between vehicles and toys and fun things. I'm really close to like 100% debt to income. So my question is, how can I get myself out of this? I've got $43,700 in a side-by-side, $40,200 in a truck, $35,700 in a car, $35,242 in a camp trailer, $14,456 in another side-by-side, $9,300 in a secured loan that I had to get to pay auto repair, $8,000 in a dirt bike, $5,000 in another loan I had to get to pay a car repair.
What lender is dumb enough to give you another dime? Like, this is kind of on them.
The thing is I had about half that debt with a job that I couldn't pay for it. Then I got this other job that pays pretty dang well and got excited and went and got some more.
Okay, so before I say anything, when we look at the comment section, we have a comment from one of you guys that I think goes very well with this clip. I've said it before, if you're bad with a little amount of money, you'll be bad with a lot of money. Hits the nail on the head with this situation, just buying toy after toy, even though he clearly couldn't afford it with his job, got incredibly lucky and found a new position where he was making substantially more, and then just decided to buy even more toys. I mean, he was listing them off bullet point after bullet point, $40,000, $30,000, $10,000 for this. Extra loans to fix all these vehicles as well. That's unreal. And we could take a look at the comment section. He must look rich to the neighbors, keeping up with the Joneses family gone wrong. I don't know how people could sleep with that much debt, and instant gratification will get you every time. Couldn't be more right.
A year ago, we purchased a camper and a truck because the payments on that were going to be cheaper than what our apartment was going to be. And now we're stuck with a camper and truck, and we're going through baby steps, and we're trying to figure out if it's worth keeping to pay down until it's out of the upside down, or to sell and then pay on the upside down.
Do you still live in it?
No, we do not. My mom has a rental house that became available, so we live in the rental house now.
How much do you owe on the camper?
$115,000.
Good gosh.
Holy Jesus.
It's like an apartment on wheels. It has a washer and dryer, a king size bed. It's a massive fifth wheel.
What do you all make a year?
Together we made, I think, $145,000.
And y'all are 20? Did you say 24?
Yeah, we were 24 at the time.
And they loaned you $115,000 on a camper. I'm trembling to ask this question. Have you figured out what the actual value of the camper is today?
The actual value of the camper is $90,000.
So you're 25 in the hole.
But if you go to Camping World and they want to buy it back from you, they offered me $63,000.
I'm sure they did. And Camping World sold you this crap.
Okay, so I'm a little confused with this one because they bought the camper. It was cheaper than their apartment, okay, but in total the camper was over 6 figures? You couldn't find an apartment that was cheaper than that while also making $140,000 together? I just don't understand. And it's not surprising to me. When they're not using it, they're trying to sell it. It is worth now significantly less than what they paid. We can take a look at some of the comments, move back in and rent out the house. Rule 1, don't go to Camping World ever. They could Airbnb the camper. I mean, maybe. The Airbnb market's not looking too hot right now. It seems like you should move back into the camper.
I am $63,300 in debt.
And you're 20 years old?
23.
23. Okay. What's your $63,000 on? What kind of debt?
It's 3 car loans, but it's a little bit of a unique situation because those 3 cars that I have, one is $33,000. The second is $18,300. And then the one which is personally mine is $5,000. Out of these 3, 2 are under me and my father, who recently, last year, after being unfaithful to my mother, left the household. And so he left me as the head of the household.
When are you going to sell the cars?
The problem is, it was a little bit before I started listening to your show and essentially getting into the personal finance. So I did essentially lend him my credit. So that debt is partially mine. But I can't sell those cars because he's still using them for his small business. He had a big, grand idea of opening up a small business, which he did. And those are his 2 primary vehicles for work, which he uses. So he's still paying them. The problem is they're not prompt payments. And it's just a matter of time before he defaults on one, and it basically snowballs into what I'm not looking towards to bankruptcy.
Okay, so this one is a rough situation. 3 different car loans, 2 of them he was a co-signer with his dad. A little bit more information, he does not have his name on the title and can't sell the cars just to get out of this completely because his dad's currently using it for his business. But he's not taking it seriously, having late payments, possibly repos down the road, and his son is on the hook the entire time. I don't even really know what to say about this situation. We can go over to the comments. This isn't uncommon in immigrant families, especially if the parents aren't legally here. I don't know if that's what's happening here. If it is, that's a whole nother layer of complexity. Sounds like it's time to sue your dad. This one's just really bad, even worse than the previous one of the brother-in-law going to jail. At least that one was a $12,000 hit and you could just move on with your life. But to finish off this video, it's going to be a little bit different of a clip because I know in most of my videos I just sound like a grumpy old man saying don't waste your money on stupid things, making it sound like you shouldn't have fun whatsoever. But if you are good with your money and set up for the future, you should be able to spend it on things you like.
My husband wants to buy a $300,000 car. And it just puts a rock in the pit of my stomach.
Wow.
So my question
What is the car?
Yeah, like a Shelby.
Oh, wow. Really?
Oh, see, now you like it. See,
Yeah.
that's my finance guy, Matt. I say to Matt, and Matt's like, well, I'll go with him.
Listen, it's a very cool car. But so the question is just, you know, how much is $300,000 in your all's world? What's your all's net worth?
Close to 20.
20
million.
what?
Million.
So you have $20 million. Okay.
Yes.
And are you retired or does he work or?
We're retired. We retired last year.
Okay.
Sold the business, and we are, fully retired.
Okay.
Plenty of investments. I mean, I really have no reason to say no to this, except something in me says this is absolutely ridiculous. This is the worst idea he's ever had.
What's the point of working your entire life amassing $20 million and during your sunset years when you're legitimately retired, not being able to spend it even on something as crazy as a $300,000 car? I don't know. It seems pretty straightforward to me. Why wouldn't you get it? Some of the comments at $300,000 Shelby will be $400,000 when they pass. It really does depend on exactly what vehicle they're talking about, but most of the time they do appreciate somewhat because they're extremely limited. Working your whole life to get $20 million and not buying the car would be crazy. Exactly what I'm saying. I know most of the time I'm talking about not spending money on things you don't need, saving as much as possible, and I have seen some people take that to the extreme where they're just penny pinching so much that their quality of life is just terrible, or they're in a financial position where they're really well off and they just refuse to spend money on anything. You should still have fun while you're on this planet, just don't end up broke going wildly overboard. But that's all I got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. YouTube thinks you'll like this video popping up on screen right now, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, and I'll talk to you guys later.